Maori myths are fantastic stories about the origins of what was the observable world for Maori, frequently involving gods and demigods. Maori myths and legends offer a fascinating take on New Zealand's origins and the Earth's creation. There are stories about gods, known as Atua, mythical creatures, nature, warfare and astronomy. Their myths are stories that take place in the distant past, and are frequently about the supernatural. They represent Maori beliefs about the origins of the universe, the Atua, and people. Natural phenomena, such as weather, stars and the moon, sea creatures, forest birds, and forests themselves, are all explained in their mythology. Much of the people's culturally institutionalized behavior is sanctioned by myth, such as opening ceremonies performed at dawn, to reflect the arrival of light into the world. Ranginui and Papatūānuku, the Sky Father and the Earth Mother, are two names that are commonly used to end cosmogonic genealogies. This celestial couple's union gave birth to the gods, and in time, all living things on Earth, according to Maori beliefs. Join me as we explore some of these myths on this chapter called Maori Mythology. Ranginui, the Sky Father, and Papatūānuku, the Earth Mother, were the two supreme creator deities in Maori mythology. Rangi and Papa were created from two primal beings, Te Po, who was night, and Te Kore, who was emptiness, who existed before the creation of the universe in a darkness of chaos. They were the origin of everything in the universe, including other gods, humans, and various creatures and features of the Earth we know today. Rangi and Papa had been locked in a tight and continuing embrace since the beginning of time. Many gods were born from the darkness between their bodies, which were trapped between their embrace, and had little space to move and no light to see. Weary of their situation, the offspring discussed how they could escape the confines of their existence. 2. The god of war proposed killing Rangi and Papa, but Tāne, the god of the forests, had a different plan. Tāne suggested that they separate their parents to make room for themselves. Except for the wind god Tori, who roared his disapproval, the other gods agreed with this plan. Several gods tried to separate Rangi and Papa. Rongo, the god of cultivated plants, was the first to try. Despite his best efforts, he was unable to separate the couple. Tangaroa, the sea god, was the next to try. He too failed, as did Haumea, the god of wild plants and vegetables, and the god of war. Tāne's turn had finally come. The forest god rested his head on his mother Papa, lifted his feet into the air, and pushed up against his father Rangi. Tāne used all of his strength to separate Rangi and Papa, pushing Rangi up into the sky and pressing Papa to the ground. Rangi and Papa were separated, and the space between them became flooded with light, scattering the various deities, humans, and other offspring who had been trapped by their eternal embrace. Rangi and Papa's offspring multiplied over time, populating the earth with life. Rangi wept as he was separated from his beloved Papa, and his tears fell from the sky, causing massive flooding. At the same time, the wind god Tori expressed his rage with his brothers by sending storms and winds to batter the earth, wreaking havoc on the forests, seas, and fields. Only the war god too could stand up to his brother, but their struggle flooded the earth, leaving only the Polynesian islands. Maori believe that conflicts between gods are responsible for things like weed growth in fields, differences between humans and animals, and storms that threaten ships at sea. It is said that even today, when Rangi misses Papa, tears fall over the Polynesian islands like rain or morning dew. In the Maori creation story, Tāne is one of the many offsprings of Papatūānuku and Ranginui. In his frustration amidst living in the darkness, he led his siblings to push their parents apart. Eventually, they escaped the darkness and let the light into the world. As the trees stretch from the grounds to the clouds, the Maori believe that the trees in the forest hold the earth and sky apart, just like how Tāne held Papa and Rangi apart. Consequently, this makes the forest, or Ngā Heire, the realm of Tāne. Tāne is an indispensable character in the Maori culture, because the Ngā Heire is an essential source of food, shelter, and tools. He is the Atua of mankind, birds, and trees. In stories, the Maori aspire to his level-headedness and persistence. His big job is to maintain the lush and diverse resources of the earth alive and fruitful. His persistence and determination is unmatched, as it emanates in the narrative of how he pushed his parents apart. He inspires us to maintain harmonious relationships amidst differences in order to achieve a common goal. Tāne illustrated this in his cooperation with his brother Tāwhirimātea to defeat the insect-like demons. Even though they had their big differences, When the ancestors of Maori arrived in New Zealand, they found it was very different from their Polynesia. They had been primarily seafaring people. However, on these larger, colder islands, they also needed to know about the land and its inhabitants. Eventually, these experiences led to the realization that understanding the forest was vital to life. As Maori explored and learned about the forests, Tāne, the god of the forest, found an important place in tribal consciousness and traditions. Therefore, people developed a reverence for and knowledge of Tāne, the great forest of Tāne. In the Maori culture, Tāne has different names to reflect his different roles. He is Tāne Mahota, as god of the forest, Tāne Tiwananga, as the bringer of knowledge, and Tāne Nui Arangi, as bringer of higher consciousness. His various names suggest someone who can defeat adversaries and who is true, loyal, and authentic. Tāwhirimātea, or Tāwhiri, is the Maori god of weather, including thunder and lightning, wind, clouds, and storms. He is the son of Papatūānuku, the Earth Mother, and Ranginui, the Sky Father. Tāwhiri is the youngest of 7 children, all of whom are boys. Tāwhiri's brothers separated their parents to bring light into the world, but Tāwhiri was opposed to his brother's plan. He sent out his children before winds and clouds that brought rain and thunderstorms to express his rage. This wreaked havoc on the forests ruled by his brother Tāne, the god of forests, drove the god of the sea, Tangaroa, and his progeny into the sea, pursued Rongo and Homiatikatk, until they had to seek refuge in the bosom of their mother Papa, and only found in Tūmatauenga a worthy opponent and eternal enemy. Tāwhiri could not defeat his brother Tūmatauenga, the god of war and of the people. The battle between people and the weather continues today. Maori life was and still is heavily influenced by the weather. Seasons, wind, and rain had an impact on daily activities, particularly crop cultivation and fishing. In the light of the sun, animals, plants, and people grew over time. Ranginui and Papatūānuku's mokopuna, or grandchildren, populated the world. Tāwhiri kept his promise by living in his father's domain, the sky, and became the guardian of the winds and remains so to this day. Tāwhiri is sometimes content to listen to his parents' advice, and forgive his siblings. On certain days, the weather is beautiful, clear, and calm. However, every now and then, Tāwhiri is reminded of his parents' separation and the longing they still have for each other, so he sends tornadoes, hurricanes, and cyclones to hunt down the descendants of those who betrayed him. Tangaroa is the son of Papatūānuku, the Earth Mother, and Ranginui, the Sky Father, in the most well-known Maori creation story. However, according to other legends, Tangaroa is the husband of Papatūānuku and a rival of Ranginui. Water is a complicated concept in Maori culture. Many Maori people believe that water is a living being. It has energy and spirit, and it is also the driving force behind all life. It has many moods, just like any other living thing. It can be peaceful and life-giving, or it can be dangerous and destructive. It is very important to the Maori people, because it is not only a source of food, but also has spiritual significance. The sons of Rangi and Papa conspire to separate them in the Maori creation story, so that they can grow and live separately. The brothers are eventually victorious, but one of them, Tāwhirimātea, is so devastated at the betrayal of his parents, that he turns on the others. Tangaroa is forced to flee into the sea to avoid Tāwhirimātea's wrath. Tangaroa's domain has since become the ocean. He fathered many sea creatures, and his son, Punga, had 2 children, Ikatera, the fish ancestor, and Tuti Wahiwi, also known as Tuti Wanoana, the reptile ancestor. Tangaroa's feud with Tāwhirimātea is not the only one. While the fish hid in the sea with him, the reptiles made their way to the forest, the domain of Tangaroa's brother, Tāne Mahota, the forest guardian. The legend exemplifies the Maori understanding of the ocean-land relationship. They are viewed as opposing forces, so much so that when Maori sailors used to sail away, they would always make offerings to Tangaroa before setting sail. Humans are land creatures, so they must exercise caution when venturing into the realm of the sea. Tangaroa ruled his realm with a specific set of laws. He said, "Tiaki mai aho, makwano ko e tiaki," meaning, "If you look after me, then I will look after you." Tūmatauenga is the god of war and humanity for the Maori people. In the creation story, Ranginui, the Sky Father, and Papatūānuku, the Earth Mother, were locked in an eternal embrace, with their children trapped within the darkness between them. Tūmatauenga, or Tu, the god of war and humanity, desired to murder their parents, but the others desired to separate their parents to make room for themselves. Tāne, the forest god, rested his head on his mother Papa, lifted his feet into the air, and pushed up against his father Rangi. Tāne used all of his strength to separate Rangi and Papa, pushing Rangi up into the sky and pressing Papa to the ground. Tāwhirimātea, the god of the weather, was enraged by the separation and fought his brothers, introducing the concept of utu, which was retaliation for an insult or injury. Tūmatauenga fought Tāwhirimātea, but neither was ever victorious. Tūmatauenga was enraged at his other brothers for failing to assist him in defeating Tāwhirimātea, so he fought, defeated, and punished them. He made his brothers Noah, or common, as a result of their actions. He fashioned tools and canoes from Tāne, the trees, caught Tangaroa, the fish, and dug up Rongo, the kumara, and Haumia, the fern root. This story is said to explain cannibalism among Māori tribes, following battle as a debasement of a defeated enemy. Maori traditional stories, including the creation myth, include references to war. Wars between tribal groups erupted for a variety of reasons, including competition for land, food, and natural resources. Wars were also fought to increase the mana of individuals or tribes, or to exact utu. Peace was critical at the end of a war, so arranged marriages between victors and high-ranking women from defeated tribes were sometimes used to seal peace.